Last summer, I decided to go on a solo camping trip deep in the forests of the Pacific Northwest. I wanted to disconnect, to really get away from it all. I'd been hiking for 2 days, pushing further into the wilderness than I ever had before. The forest was ancient, with towering pines that blotted out the sky, and an eerie silence that was both calming and unsettling. I found a small clearing by a stream and set up my camp for the night. I built a small, controlled fire, ate my dinner, and watched the stars appear one by one in the gaps between the trees. The air grew cold, and I eventually crawled into my tent, pulling my sleeping bag up to my chin. I left my favorite down jacket just outside the tent flap, figuring I'd need it first thing in the chilly morning. I'm a heavy sleeper, but something woke me up in the middle of the night. It wasn't a loud noise, more like a subtle shift in the atmosphere. A strange feeling of being watched. I lay perfectly still, my heart starting to pound against my ribs. I could hear the gentle gurgle of the stream, the whisper of the wind, but there was something else. A soft, rhythmic breathing. It was close. Too close. My mind raced through all the possibilities. A bear, a deer, maybe a raccoon that had gotten bold. I slowly unzipped my sleeping bag, trying to make as little noise as possible. I needed to see what was out there. Peeking through the mesh of my tent window, my eyes scanned the moonlit clearing. At first, I saw nothing, just the dying embers of my fire and the dark shapes of the trees. Then, my eyes adjusted. Right next to my tent, curled up in a tight ball on my down jacket, was a creature. It wasn't a bear cub or any other animal I could recognize. It was small, maybe the size of a 2-year-old child, and covered in thick, dark brown fur. It had long limbs, and even in the dim light, I could see the distinct shape of its hands and feet. They looked startlingly human. Its face was turned away from me, nestled into the collar of my jacket, but I could see the gentle rise and fall of its back as it slept. My blood ran cold. My brain was screaming, "This can't be real." All the stories, all the grainy photos and campfire tellies I'd ever heard, they all came rushing back. I was looking at a baby Bigfoot, a Sasquatch. I was paralyzed with a mixture of terror and absolute awe. My first instinct was to grab my phone and start recording, but I was afraid any movement, any light, would wake it up. And if this little one was here, where was its mother? The thought sent a fresh wave of fear through me. A protective mother Sasquatch was not something I wanted to encounter, so I just watched, holding my breath. The little creature let out a soft sigh in its sleep, a sound so innocent and vulnerable it chipped away at my fear. It looked so peaceful, so content, snuggled up on my jacket for warmth. It wasn't a monster. It was just a baby, seeking comfort in the cold night. For what felt like hours, I remained frozen, my eyes glued to the small, furry form. The initial shock slowly faded, replaced by an overwhelming sense of wonder. I was witnessing something that most people believe is a myth. The world felt bigger, more mysterious, more magical than it had just a few hours before. I started noticing the details. The way its fur was slightly matted with pine needles. The surprisingly delicate-looking fingers curled into a loose fist. It shifted slightly, and I saw a glimpse of its face. It had a flat nose and a wide mouth, and its features were more primate-like than human, yet there was an undeniable intelligence in its sleeping expression. It seemed so fragile. As the first hints of dawn began to lighten the eastern sky, I knew my time was running out. I didn't want to be there when it woke up, or when its parent came looking for it. The dilemma was agonizing. Do I try to get a picture? Do I make a noise to scare it away? In the end, I decided to do neither. This felt like a sacred moment, a secret the forest had shared with me, and it didn't feel right to exploit it. My jacket was a small price to pay for this once-in-a-lifetime experience. Quietly, carefully, I began to pack my essential gear inside my tent. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely zip my backpack. Every rustle of fabric sounded like a gunshot in the silent woods. The little creature didn't stir. Once I had my pack ready, I took one last look. The baby Bigfoot was still sound asleep on its makeshift bed. I felt a strange pang of sadness, like I was leaving a friend behind. I slowly, painstakingly, unzipped the back of my tent, away from the creature, and slipped out into the cold morning air. I didn't look back. I just started walking, moving as quickly and quietly as I could, putting distance between myself and the clearing. My heart was still hammering, but now it was from adrenaline and excitement, not host fear. I hiked 4 miles, without stopping. The image of the sleeping creature burned into my mind. When I finally felt safe enough to rest, I sat down on a log, the reality of what I had seen crashing over me. Did that really happen? Was I hallucinating? But I knew what I saw. And my jacket was gone. That was the proof. It was real. I never told anyone the full story until now. I'd mentioned I had a strange encounter with wildlife, or that a bear stole my jacket. How could I explain that I woke up to find a baby Bigfoot sleeping outside my tent? People would think I was crazy, but the experience changed me. It reaffirmed my belief that there are still mysteries in this world, things that science and logic can't explain. That night in the forest, I didn't just see I saw a living, breathing being that was part of a hidden world. It made me feel small, but in a good way. It reminded me that we don't have all the answers, and that the wilderness still holds secrets we can't even imagine. I don't know if I'll ever go back to that specific spot. Part of me is terrified, but another, bigger part is curious. I often wonder about that little creature. I hope it found its mother. I hope it's safe. And sometimes, on a cold night, I like to think it remembers the warmth of a stranger's jacket. Thanks for listening to my story. If you have any similar experiences or thoughts on the matter, please share them in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more mysteries.